Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about something we've all seen a million times, the rainbow. But what if I told you that every time you've seen one, you've only been seeing half of it? The real physics behind it is, well, it's even wilder than magic. Seriously, what if what you think a rainbow is just a fraction of the real story? Because the truth is, what we see as a rainbow in the sky, it's literally just the tip of the iceberg. So, let's get into it. Okay, here it is. That gorgeous arc you see after a rainstorm, it's not an arc at all. It's actually the top half of a complete, perfect circle of light. The only reason we don't see the whole thing is, well, the ground is in the way. But if you're high enough up, say in an airplane looking down on the clouds, you can see the entire stunning full circle rainbow. So how in the world does that work? To understand that giant circle in the sky, we've got to zoom way, way in, all the way down to a single tiny drop of water. And we need to talk about one very specific, very important number. Now, people have been trying to figure this out for centuries, but the big breakthrough came way back in 1637. A guy named René Descartes was the first to actually sit down and do the math on how light travels through a raindrop. And his work, it pretty much laid the foundation for everything we now know.
So here's the journey every single ray of sunlight takes. First, it enters the raindrop and bends, that's called refraction. Then it hits the back of the inside of the drop and bounces off, kind of like a mirror. And finally, it exits the front of the drop, bending one more time as it heads straight for your eye. It's the simple little three-step dance: bend, bounce, bend.
But here's the thing. Because a raindrop is a sphere, the light doesn't just come out in a neat little line. No, it fans out. It actually forms a perfect cone of light with the raindrop as the pointy tip. And this brings us to the magic number, 42 degrees. It's wild. Because of the way light behaves in water, it can't exit a raindrop at an angle greater than about 42 degrees from the path it came in on. That's not a suggestion, it's like a law of physics. It is the absolute maximum angle, which means it's the literal, brilliant edge of the rainbow. This is also how we get the colors. You see, different colors of light bend at slightly different angles. Red light, it turns out, has the biggest exit angle, right around 42.4 degrees. Blue light's angle is a little tighter, at 40.7 degrees. And that tiny little difference is what cracks open the white sunlight and splits it into that whole beautiful spectrum. So think about that cone of light coming from one raindrop. If you're standing outside that 42-degree cone, you get nothing from that drop. It's just dark. But if you're standing right on the edge of that cone, bam, you see a flash of pure red light. And if you're inside the cone, all the colors hit your eye at once and mix back together into bright light. This, by the way, is why the sky inside a rainbow always looks brighter than the sky outside. Okay, so that's one raindrop. How do we get from a tiny cone of light to a giant circle in the sky? Well, here's the secret. It's all about you. I mean that literally. The rainbow you see is completely unique to your eyes. No two people ever see the exact same rainbow. To get why, you need to know about something called the Antisolar Point. It sounds technical, but it's simple. It's the spot in the sky that's exactly opposite the sun, from your point of view. And the easiest way to find it? Look for the shadow of your own head. Right there. That's the dead center of your personal rainbow. So a rainbow isn't some object floating out there in one spot. It's an optical illusion made from the light of millions and millions of different raindrops. And each one of those drops just happens to be in the absolute perfect position, exactly 42 degrees away from your antisolar point to bounce that concentrated light right into your eyes. And you know, that brings us full circle, right back to our first big question. If your rainbow is a full 42-degree circle, with the shadow of your head at the center, why do we just see that familiar arc? The answer is so simple, it's almost funny. The ground gets in the way. That's it. When you're standing on the ground, the entire bottom half of your rainbow circle is just blocked by the planet you're standing on. But when you're up in a plane, and that anti-solar point is way down below you on a sea of clouds, there's nothing to block the view. You see the whole glorious thing. And what's really cool is that this principle, this combination of light, water, and your unique perspective creating these perfect circles, it's not just for rainbows. The sky is actually full of these personal halos of light. You just have to know where to look. Hikers sometimes talk about seeing something called a Brocken spectre, which they describe as very large and ghostly and a little bit eerie. It happens when you're high on a mountain and your own shadow gets cast on the clouds below you, looking huge, and it's often surrounded by these beautiful colored rings. You might have even seen a glory, which is pretty much the same thing, but it's the rings of color you see around your airplane's shadow on the clouds. Or maybe a fog bow, which is this pale whitish rainbow you see on a misty day. Even that common ring you see around the moon at night. That's a perfect 22-degree circle made by tiny ice crystals instead of water droplets. So, what do we take away from all this incredible science? I think beyond the physics, the secret of the rainbow actually teaches us something really powerful about how we see the world. Just think about it for a second. From our default spot right here on the ground, we see an arc. And it's easy to assume, yep, that's a rainbow. But the complete truth, the entire perfect circle, it's always there. It's just hidden from our regular point of view. It's this perfect metaphor, right? Our perspective isn't just what we happen to be looking at. It's defined by what we can see from the exact spot where we happen to be standing. What we think is the whole story is so often just one beautiful piece of a much larger, more complete picture. If you want to see the whole rainbow, you have to change your position. You have to climb higher, get a new vantage point. And, it's the same in life, isn't it? To really grasp the full truth of something, sometimes you have to be willing to change your position, to seek out a totally new perspective. And that's really why this matters. The world is just full of arcs that are actually circles. The rainbow is a beautiful reminder to maybe look at things with a little more humility, to know that what we're seeing, as amazing as it is, might only be one part of an even bigger, more incredible picture. So that's the thought I want to leave you with. The next time you see a rainbow, I hope you don't just see an arc anymore. I hope you see the promise of a full circle. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to wonder, what other circles in your life are you only seeing as arcs?